Welcome to Muse Talks. I'm your co-host Mabruk Alam.
And I'm your co-host, Sienna Sossi. Right before Thanksgiving break, Mabruk and I had the massive opportunity to attend the National Scholastic Press Association convention in Nashville, Tennessee.
We, along with thousands of other students, were able to connect, share, and surround ourselves with our passion, student journalism.
We also got to meet some incredible guest speakers, such as our two very special guests today on this episode.
First, we have Becca Andrews, a journalism professor at Western Kentucky University and author of No Choice, The Destruction of Roe v. Wade and the Fight to Protect a Fundamental American Right.
We also have with us John Archibald, a journalist with 35 years of experience under his belt, as well as 2 Pulitzer Prizes for commentary and local reporting.
Together, they co-host American Shrapnel, a podcast that looks into the radicalization of serial bomber Eric Rudolph, who laid bombs at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta.
Since they both had so much years in the game, we first wanted to talk to them about their journalistic experiences and then their thoughts on the state of journalism.
To hear more about their work on American Shrapnel, make sure you tune into the second episode of this series.
This is Muse Talks, American Shrapnel.
So, this first question is for each of you individually. How did you guys both get into the field of journalism?
Was my sixth or seventh different major in college. I tried geology and history and political science and speech and all these things. And for whatever reason, pre-law, which I was going to be good at until I took an internship at a judge and found out I have courtroom narcolepsy. And so at any rate, I wandered into the student newspaper at the University of Alabama and fell pretty madly in love with both the business and the woman who covered the SGA, who is still my wife. And so that was the beginning of a couple of good relationships.
Tell them about the machine.
At the University of Alabama, where I went to school, there you may have seen Bama Rush somewhere along the way. There's an organization referred to as the Machine, which is a secret society of select fraternities and sororities who have maintained power over the entire campus for 100 years. And so its natural enemy is the student newspaper, the Crimson White. And so my wife was in one of those sororities, and I was what they call a GDI, an independent. You can fill in the rest of it. And so we started doing the stories, and we ended up doing some big exposés on sort of this farm team for corruption. You might consider this organization, and then as a result, I mean, I'm going to be honest. She was doing all the work, and I was not, but I was along for the ride, and as a result, she. Am I talking enough now, Becca? Is that right?
Keep going. You're doing great. You're doing great.
As a result, her sorority, the adult in charge, called her in and said, you have 2 choices. You can dump that guy and stop working for the newspaper, or you can turn in your sorority pin. We'll kick you out. And she said, well, I can't tell you what she said, but she chose me, and she kept her pen, and as a result, we were bound together forever. And but as part of that, we were doing these stories that all of a sudden people were paying attention to, and that were having some results, and people cared for what we were saying, which was brand new to me, and I couldn't imagine a world in which people would care what I was saying. And it got in my blood, and just that whole idea of trying to right, injustices, to give voice to people who didn't have it, to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted, as they say. It just spoke to me in ways that none of the ever things I'd ever tried had, and it stuck.
Yeah. I gotta say, that's a pretty cool story to start with.
Mine's not that cool, just so you guys know.
I mean,
I
it's
skipped
love, it's
myself.
journalism, it's everything you could ever
I don't
want.
think mine's that cool either.
But everything gets cooler when it's decades old. I will say that.
That's why I got the shirt on. I
I
would
just
have
snorted. You made me snort in the microphone. That doesn't happen very often.
One of those like freaks who knew like from the time I was a very, very small child that I knew I wanted to be a storyteller. And Archibald and I kind of have this in common. Like storytelling is really, I think as Southerners, storytelling is in our blood. So like Archibald's daddy was a preacher. Um, my family were like sharecroppers, and so like kind of storytelling was such a big part of the culture growing up. And so I knew I wanted to do that. And because I because I grew up without a lot of money, I was like, oh, I could be an author. And then I was like, wait, authors don't make any money. I'll be a journalist, which is very funny now. Um, but in like the eighth, I was so determined. I was determined from the time I was like 6 that I was going to be a journalist. And then in the 8th grade, we had this assignment to go do like a career day, like job shadow type thing. And so I went to the county next to mine because my county wasn't cool enough to have a daily paper. I went to the Jackson Sun and I followed around a journalist there and just like,
Jackson, Mississippi.
no, Jackson, Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
Um, but they, yeah, duh. Uh, but they, I don't like, it was just like, there are very few times in my life where I've like stepped into a space and felt like I belonged. I'm like not that person. I always feel a little uncomfortable, but it was immediate, just like the energy of the place and like people hollering and phones ringing and keyboards clacking and I mean, it was magic to me. And so I, worked at my county paper after that. I lived in fear of someone discovering the like column that I wrote for my county paper, and then went to college and got involved with the student newspaper and did an internship at the Tennessee and freelance there and went to Berkeley, and I've just been in it ever since. I can't imagine doing anything else. It's the best job in the world.
I gotta ask, we met you through your podcast, American Shrapnel, but what was that journey? Because you guys started off in college and ended up there. So if you guys could walk us through that.
Archibald,
Oh,
what
man.
happened after you took down the machine?
How did the machine respond?
I mean, I came up the what was then the traditional way. I started working at Birmingham News, which is was the largest paper in Alabama, with the local paper. So with that notion that I would be there for 3 years or so and out of here, I started as a correspondent, came in and did neighborhoods, did city hall reporting, became as investigative reporter, ran the investigative team for a while, became what they called then a database editor, and in 2004, I got a job as a columnist, which my paper hadn't had a Metro columnist in a quarter century. And they let me do it, which was sort of my dream always. I mean, it had become my dream. And I'd been doing it since that was 2004. So long time now. And so it was, I grew up. I mean, I've seen a lot of changes, and I think I probably mentioned, I never thought I would survive the whole digital first move because I was at the height of my local celebrity at the time, which means I was huge in the nursing homes. I was in a nursing home talking every
Okay.
day, every week.
Be kind to yourself. You're still huge in the nursing homes.
I was huger before all those people died, so, but anyway, it's like, man, I've finally reached this dream, this potential, this place I always wanted to be. And then they just took it away from me because they took the paper from my best readers and all that. And I've watched so many people who got sort of mad about that, but, and I feel a lot of guilt, the survivor's guilt and otherwise, because the fact that, our local news ecosystem kind of was ripped to shreds also gave me the opportunity to have, essentially all of my dreams come true. I mean, stuff's happened to me that, I can't imagine because, we had to do new things and to do them differently and to kind of speak to a broader audience and have a chance to be seen, on a wider scale than just local. So I mean, that's a lot for me to say I'll stop there. But I mean, it's been a long, strange trip, and the things that I thought were the worst things that ever happened to me turned out to give me more opportunity than anything else.
But I do think like you've always been down. Like you've always been like game to do storytelling in any form. It's never been about like
Yeah.
I am married to like paper and ink newspaper.
Yeah, the other
And
secret
some
about
folks are that way.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I didn't read the paper. I mean, I was like, I was playing sports and stuff, and I would read it to see if my name was in it. And I delivered the papers when I was a kid, but I wasn't like big. I mean, I respected and admired it and loved a newsroom and all that, but I always had some issues with the way we do things in a very, specific way that counts on, this is the way we do it. What we need to do is tell stories that people will consume, however we do it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Becca.
Don't be sorry. It was my fault. I asked you a follow-up question,
I was like, this is good stuff. I don't know what you're talking about.
For me, I came up through newspapers, and while I really loved like the adrenaline of breaking news, I didn't really like the like news writing format quite as much. I knew that I wanted to be a narrative writer, magazine writer. So that's why I applied to Berkeley for grad school, and again, like because I grew up without a lot of money. I like went into Berkeley and I was like, I have a plan. Okay, like there's a fellowship at Mother Jones. It's in San Francisco. I'm going to spend the next 2 years at Berkeley, like not only like getting all the training I can get for investigative work and for long form work, but I'm also just going to like bully these people into hiring me for this fellowship. So like, and I did that. Like truly, the next 2 years, I like hunted down anyone I could find who worked for Mother Jones. They were all like unbelievably nice to me, even though I was a complete creep about it. And then like at the end of my second year before I graduated, I got the fellowship, and I really, really loved working there. Like not only do you get sort of this like boot camp in investigative reporting as a fact checker through the fellowship because you're learning how to like take apart big investigations and put them back together. Um, but I got to start writing. I got to start like really writing the way that I had always kind of dreamed of. In like the longer form narrative, but also in like kind of the fun, like snarky, bloggy stuff that I don't think we have enough of anymore. I really miss that form of writing. Um, and then, like COVID hit and lots of things changed. And so I moved back to the South to be closer to my family and took a gig with what used to be Reckon News. So that was part of AL.com, which is how I met Hamilton and Archibald. And it wasn't quite the right fit. So I got this teaching gig, and I find that's been a really nice balance for me. I think I cover a lot of really like dark things that were and particularly covering like reproductive health when it's like, okay, like I know people whose lives are being profoundly impacted by this loss of healthcare. And I'm seeing the consequences in real time. Like that takes a toll on you. And I don't think I had realized how much of a toll it was taking until I started teaching and freelancing. And in some ways, teaching has given me like this lovely like counterweight to the work that I do as a journalist. Like my students really give me a lot of hope and a lot of joy that was, I think, missing in my life.
That's really, I'm happy that you found
Yeah.
that avenue to further continue and find happiness and all.
Becca,
You were saying?
I feel like I need to weigh in on that, Becca.
Yeah.
Go
Oh
ahead.
God, what are you gonna say?
I'm just real interested in that. I mean, because so yeah, I wrote this play that I'm trying to get produced, which is a weird thing. I know that's a weird thing, but it's essentially what you're talking about. I mean, it's like
really
30
good.
years later, 20, you didn't read it. You don't know.
I did
But,
read it. You sent it to me. You sent it to me and Hannah.
But, 20 years later, you wake up and you think about the things that you experienced, in the heat of the moment, covering something really important. In my case, it was executions. I mean, you see a lot of stuff in this business, and I witnessed 6 executions, one of which they, did in an electric chair and had to hit the guy twice. So, and when you're working, right?
Yeah.
And you don't process it so much. But at some point in your life, you wake up and you say, that was a really heavy thing. And when you start to process it, there's a lot that can come out of it. And it just happened to fit with, it's just the whole idea of telling stories in as many different ways as possible. And one of those, is, and I'm like, there's a lot of reporting I've done that I'll never be able to tell as a news story. But if you fictionalize it, then all of a sudden you can say the same thing to a different group, different crowd. And it's just like always looking for different ways to tell the same stories sometimes. Anyway, but you also process it. A lot of people don't understand that you also process it by writing it down. For me anyway, when I write it down, it's like therapy,
Yeah.
So that's why I'm sorry. I'm gonna talk.
I just
Stop saying you're sorry.
Yeah, keep
Well, I
going.
am sorry, but there's 4 people sitting here. I don't want to,
It's okay.
Yeah, no.
We love
Just-
to.
you know what is.
Yeah.
It's just I'm thinking through it.
Oh no.
I just worry about, and that's what I worry most about AI.
Yeah.
Is that for me personally, I don't know what I think until I've written it down.
Yeah.
And so if we're not going to be required to write things through, how are we going to process them?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I think AI is a scary business, especially for journalism.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just love the way you guys kind of delved into like doing more storytelling that wasn't written because like as much as I love reading the news, I know most people my age probably don't enact in the same activities. But like podcasts, everyone listens to those in the car, so I think you guys are really doing something that other journalists aren't and reaching out to a larger audience. So I give you snaps for that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
thanks.
funny you say that because when the podcast came out, and we've had lots of people say this to us over the past few months, but like they're like, "Oh my God, you got to do like the last narrative podcast. Like you got in on the last gasps of narrative podcasting." And we're just like, "Oh my God, like don't say that. Like that can't possibly be true." But
manifest
it
that.
is like I know, I'm like, don't put that out there. But their point was that like you have all of these like big media companies that had invested so much money into podcasting. Now suddenly they're pulling back and people are getting laid off, and it's this kind of bloodbath in this moment. So, um, but I think that you're right, and I think there's a lot of value to the storytelling medium, and I think it's a mistake to. I think it's a mistake to commodify storytelling in general. Like I don't know if you guys saw, but the New York Times did this interview with Tina Brown over the weekend that they published through I think it was the New York Times Magazine. And she was talking about like how messed up it is that like billionaires kind of run all of this at this point because storytelling shouldn't be this like commodity. And because these billionaires have no interest in understanding
Yeah.
what journalism is and what journalists do and the value of our work. And I just, yeah, I thought it was a really incredible interview by someone who's been a leader in this business for a long time. I'm still thinking about it.
But the lesson in all that is, it's the same lesson when you first start working in a newsroom or anywhere. Then, you can do what they tell you to do in your own little silo doing the thing, or you can go out and find great stories, whether they're assigned to you or not. And the difference between those people who succeed and those people who don't is that the people who succeed are going out and finding stuff because nobody can turn down a great story. And the same thing applies to, in my first job, I had to call people on a payphone and dictate my stories. you know. And then we get to this point where all of a sudden everybody in the world can, you know, publish whatever they want. But the key is when you find a good one and you tell it well in whatever medium you're going to use. And I've done print, I've done documentaries, I've done podcasts, I've done video essays, I've done cartoons. I mean, I've worked with cartoons. I mean, the whole thing, you name it. And book, play, try. And when you get to be confident in telling your story in whatever way is presented to you and in whatever way you think might be best received, then you've won. When you can break through, I mean, when you're not confined to a particular place and a particular medium. And so, I mean, all of that to say, get good at everything you can get good at.
Yeah.
And even if you're not good at it, you can do it until you get good at it, or until you stop having fun doing it. You know, I mean, I mean, that's the thing that I really don't want to leave out. I mean, I did this business because it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here now trying to. I mean, I'm probably going to have to go to Mexico City later this week on a spur of the moment. I don't speak Spanish. Trying to find a kid who was deported, you know, who has lived here in Alabama his whole life, barely speaks Spanish, doesn't write it, and they've deported him to Mexico. And so I'm going to try to find him. And, you know, what kind of, I mean, that's you don't get that working at the Target, you know. So, you know, it's fun and it's exciting and you push yourself all the time. And that's what, I mean, so when the fun goes, I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah,
I do want to push back a little bit though, like on the idea that like I really want I really want the world to be a meritocracy where like people just get what they deserve. But I think particularly like right now watching like Olivia Nuzzi get like hired at Vanity Fair and like knowing that like her book is probably going to sell like an absolute butt ton of copies, even though the writing is terrible. And even though she just like committed this cardinal sin against journalism, like it, you know, like
for sure.
there are things where you can be a bad journalist and still like succeed, air
Yeah.
quotes.
No, I think what
Yeah, but you can be you, and you can hold on to your ethical standards and your quality. And you may not be a viral sensation, you may not be a YouTube star or whatever it is, but you're going to be able to be proud of what your work is, and you're going to have, you know, I mean, I just don't want to
Right.
make it seem so dismal that it seems that we drive good people away.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm just really pissed off about the Olivia Nuzzi thing. That's all.
I thought of you when I read it. I
I'm
thought
so
of you,
mad. I'm so
and
mad.
I imagined with some accuracy what would come out of your mouth when you spoke about it.
My poor husband has had enough.
Yeah, I think kind of circling back on that topic of, you know, great journalism being people going out and finding their own story. I think especially in high school publications where a lot of these people are doing this just as a class, like
Mm.
I think you can tell the difference in like great high school publications and just good ones by the way like how these like student journalists are going out and finding those stories. Like this convention the past week, I was impressed because so many young journalists were out there like trying to, you know, they went out to the field and they went to find these, you know, hard stories that, you know, it's not common for like 16, 17, 18-year-olds to comment whoa, to report on. So
Mhm.
I think what Archibald was saying about going out and finding that is a really important part of journalism, both in your field, you know, lots of experience versus us where, you know,
Yeah.
we're still in high school.
Yeah. And kind of to what you were saying, Becca, like I'm a senior, so I even feel like old at the convention when I'm seeing these like freshmen and sophomores.
You're
But
not. I promise you're not.
I know, but still, it's like, you know, I'm leaving this behind, but seeing like
Mhm.
these younger people like really taking on like their school district and like petitions and these like nationwide topics and really like localizing and hitting those points is so just impressive to me and like crazy that they're doing this at like 14, 15.
I mean, like this is exactly why I was saying what I was saying earlier about how like teaching gives me a lot of hope because like I have these kids and they're just like they're out there doing the thing and like being at the conference this weekend. It
Yeah.
has a lot of letters in it. I feel like I keep my sample letters, so I'm not going to even try with the acronym. But it was so cool to be around like so many young folks who really care about journalism. You know, I think like there's this great myth that like journalism is dying and that like younger people aren't interested in journalism, aren't interested in telling stories. And it's crap. It's not true. Um, I was really, I have to like shout out my students a little bit here. Um, my students who work for the College Heights Herald, which is our newspaper, have been doing some really phenomenal coverage on ICE activity in Bowling Green,
Mm.
where the university is located.
Hmm.
And the Department of Homeland Security called our campus police
Oh, wow.
last week, week before last, to like tell them to tell our kids to stop reporting on it,
Oh,
which is just
wow.
like, my baby's pissed off, Christy. No, like, let's
Yeah.
absolutely
That
go. Like,
that's
I've
good
never been
journalism.
more proud.
Oh,
If
And
you
they're not cowed at all. They're like, they're super psyched and I'm proud of them. And,
yeah.
like, I think it's really cool um, to see younger journalists being like, no, absolutely not. Like we're gonna hold these people with power to account no matter what it costs.
It's like the one profession you get excited when the cops call you.
100%, yeah.
shout out Western Kentucky University.
Well, that's there've been a lot of, I mean, in Stanford in the last couple of years had a guy, they reported that they basically cost the college president his job. Florida had a very similar situation, did great reporting on them. It's
Yeah.
not like student reporting versus professional reporting. It's just good reporting,
Yeah.
that is recognized as such in high school. I was so impressed with that group yesterday or whatever day it was, Saturday, just because of the questions.
Yeah.
There was not a bad question in the lot, and
That's
they
great.
were, engaged and just impressive. And I was just so happy to see that. I mean, I do think you guys are coming up at a time when you can really see how important it is to have true and honest reporting out there as opposed to just propaganda, which, I mean, we're at a critical moment.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, y'all are going to do it different than we did it, um, because you're coming up in a different era. You have different skills and expectations. And I want you to know, the way we do it, but I want you to do it the way you do it,
Mm.
Yeah.
and that's where our hope lies.
Thank you guys for tuning into part 1 of this series.
We'll see you all next time in part 2.